ready to rock. Welcome on into GoldSheet TV, Week 16 of the NFL season. We are officially in this final home stretch here. Tons of playoff implications, tons of big games, and Newbie and I are going to start off with a game that means absolutely nothing to one of these teams. But as always on this show, we might not be talking the sexiest games, the prettiest games, the ones that you want to be watching, but we're trying to talk about the games that will put some cash in your pocket. So without further ado, let's get right into it. First matchup of the day that we're discussing, a double best bet, actually. We have the New England Patriots headed on the road to take on the Denver Broncos. This is actually the Sunday primetime game we're starting with. Should it be primetime? That's a question for another time. But right now, the spread, Broncos laying 6.5 points, pretty unanimous across the board. Total 34, 34.5, depending where you look. Newbie, how are you betting this Patriots-Broncos game?
Yeah, I mean, having the fact that this is going to be a Christmas Eve game, snow expected in it. The thing is, you look at the matchup and you're like, oh, what did we do to deserve coal in our stocking? That this is the matchup that we're going to get on Christmas Eve. But really, the mantra for me and how we end up with the double best bet here is a mantra that I have had all year long, and that's that friends don't let friends lay points with the Denver Broncos. They're 2-4-1 against the number when they're laying points, and I know it's tough betting on the Patriots with what we've seen this year. But at this point, when there's 3 games left to go, being that team who has nothing to lose, including the fact that, the reports of it, their coach is going to be done at the end of the year, is Belichick moving on. They can be the wild card team that really can be a good bet on spot. And the thing is, for me, as I look up this matchup, the Patriots, it hasn't been the defense that's cost them and led them to a 3-win season here. It's the offense's inability to put points up. And then you factor in that there's going to be snow going on. You look at the total sitting at 34.5. And when people see the snow on Sunday, that's going to crash even more. So if you like an under, I personally don't bet it now because the 34.5 is only going to get lower. But I look at that number, EP, and I say, do they really need to score all that much to keep it within a touchdown here? I don't think they do. So it seems like a really nice spot to hop in on a team who just missed covering by a half point against a much better offense. I'm going to take the 6.5 with the Pats on Sunday night, a little Christmas Eve special.
Yeah, this is our double best bet. We're both on the New England Patriots. Clients of the GoldSheet at WagerTalk and the newsletter got this at New England +7. So obviously 6.5 being under that key number of 7. I still like it at 6.5, which is why we are willing to put this out as a double best bet here. But that's a reason why I should go to WagerTalk.com, head on over to the GoldSheet, and become a subscriber for the rest of the season because you would have gotten some good line value here. But this is a pretty simple play for me. I think Newbie made a lot of great points. I make this game Denver -4.5. The spread is New England +6.5, and then also my case in the client's case 7. So it's a no-brainer bet from a numbers perspective. And then it's like, why do my numbers say this? Well, I give a lot of credit to Sean Payton and what he's done with this Denver Broncos team. I think that there is a lot of art in not losing a team games, especially a flawed team. Like, think about even the Giants and Brian Daboll last year. Like, that team, all they did all season long was avoid losing. So they won games. Like, there is merit to that. And I think that Sean Payton's formula for doing so, well, the first thing is the defense forcing turnovers. Like, I mean, no coach can control that. Obviously, you want to turn over every possession if possible. They've been very fortuitous in that circumstance. But the way Sean Payton's run this offense, it's been so dink and dunk and run the football. And the one thing that you cannot do on this New England Patriots team is run the football. They're number 1 in DVOA, success rate allowed on defense, and they've improved every single week. And they're on like a couple week span where they've held their opponent to like 0.25% of the time where they're running the football. They're having somewhat of success, which is by far the best in the National Football League. So this defense is ready to play, and this Broncos team runs their style of offense. Like last week against the Lions was a great example. Lions secondary has been abysmal for the last 4 weeks. What does Sean Payton do? Run the football, show a short pass. Didn't even try to attempt to throw the ball down the field on that Lions team. So you have that aspect. And the Patriots offense is what's bogged down this team. But They got Demario Douglas back last week, and they got Kayshon Boutte, their rookie receiver, back as well. Those are their two best playmakers outside of obviously Ramondre
Mhm.
Stevenson, who's hurt. So I don't expect this team to be completely like puzzled by the Denver Broncos defense. Like this unit is only good on an EPA basis because of the turnovers they force. But as we've seen 2 times in the last 4 weeks, when this team does not force turnovers, like in Detroit, they get absolutely steamrolled. And on the road in Houston, they don't force turnovers. They lose and don't cover. And that game was only close because of some penalties from the Texans late in that football game. So in a total of 34.5, newbie, like you said, I think it's coming down as well. That also correlates, I think, with the
Mhm.
spread will come down also. Too many points to lay with a team that is not, in my ratings, they're not 6.5 points better than them. They're only 4.5 points better. So for me, that's pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when in doubt, don't let your friends lay points with the Denver Broncos. And also, when in doubt, take the better defense, getting points, and that's what you're getting here. And like EP said, 6.5, I don't think it's going to be there by the time if you want to bet it on Sunday evening. 34.5, I definitely don't think it's going to be there if you want to bet it on Sunday evening. So this is a run, don't walk kind of play, as gross as it may seem.
And I will say also, definitely take a look at the alt lines on books because sometimes the alt lines
Fair.
aren't priced properly. So if you can get like a 7 minus 125 on an alt, I think it's worth a little extra squeeze there
Agreed.
mathematically to get that 7. But don't be going too much over minus 125 because then it doesn't. Then it's the same line as a 6.5. Like yes, the number is there, but you're paying more juice. Actually, it makes it a negative EV bet. So some food for thought for you. But there it is. Lock it in. Double best bet. New England Patriots plus 6.5. Let's move on to another ugly ass game. Another one with minimal playoff implications. I actually no playoff implications realistically for either side. But the Arizona Cardinals headed to Chi-Town to take on the Bears. This is the 4:25 Eastern game on Christmas Eve. Bears laying a modest 4. Cardinals total here 43, which has come down from an opener of 44. Newbie, how you handicapping the Cardinals heading to Chicago?
Now, you call it a modest 4, but I look at that and say that's a mountain of a 4 for the Chicago Bears. Because if you're asking the Bears to cover this game, you're asking Matt Eberflus to do something he's never done in his young coaching career. And that's cover as a favorite. This year they're 0-1-1. They did grab that push, but sitting at 4, it's not like we're looking at a key number right there with a little push protection. If you go back to last year, 0-2-2 against the number are the Chicago Bears and Matt Eberflus. So as you said, EP, two teams, zero playoff aspirations. And while I have made money on both of these teams this year, it just feels like a better spot for the Cardinals. Why? I mean, let's be real. The Cardinals are putting up last week almost 30 points against the 49ers defense. And playing the 49ers defense this week. I don't care if 13 of those points came in garbage time. You could argue some of those second stringers would start on the Chicago Bears defense. And they're playing, as I mentioned, a quite different defense this week. And when you look at the quarterbacks that the Bears have faced, it's really been more prototypical pocket passers. They have not faced the running threat that they will see this week with Kyler Murray. Outside of maybe you could argue Patrick Mahomes, but I still think those are two different beasts with what Kyler Murray is able to do with his legs versus any quarterback that Chicago's seen this year. And it's house money for both of these teams. Let's be real. So when you're talking about house money, you're asking me to lay points with the Bears. I know they've looked improved. They've gotten wins over the Lions. They've gotten some impressive wins for what it's worth, but they're still learning how to win when expectations come with that. I am not interested in laying 4 points with the Chicago Bears ever until they prove me they can do it. I'm getting over a field goal against a 5-win team with a team who, they're still trying to have some building blocks with their new head coach in Jonathan Gannon. I'm taking the points here over a field goal. It's the only way I'm looking. Give me the 4 with the Cards. What do you say, EP?
So we came to the same conclusion, but I agree with part of what you said and disagree with some of what you said. So I think that this defensive resurgence for Chicago is no fluke. I think that this defense is
Hmm.
legitimate. I think that like it wasn't just the Montez Sweat trade that like completely turned it around. Don't get me wrong. As a Commanders fan who watched him every snap, I was telling everybody like this guy is amazing. I know you're not going to see his name on the stat sheet as often as you'd like, but he's great at running and run defense and obviously getting to the quarterback. And they also they invested a lot on their defense in drafts recently. And a lot of the players they had were hurt to start the season. So, and Eberflus is a defensive-minded head coach. It's not like he's an offensive guy. So I think that these defenses are real, but I just don't like. But the point I do agree with you, what you said is this Bears team definitely is not a team that knows how to come out and win by margin. Like they're
Mhm.
asking to lay over a field goal. I don't care if they're at home against a dead Arizona team. I just don't think that that's a good situation for them. And also, I agree with what you said with the running quarterbacks. Like Chicago has not faced a quarterback with mobility that can get out of the pocket and kind of hurt them in multiple ways. So I think that it's another matchup that Kyler Murray can exploit. And I don't have the numbers in front of me. I accidentally closed down the sheet, so this is on me. And I don't want to have an internet connection or anything, problems or anything like that. But Kyler Murray has prospered as a road underdog in his career in covering the number, especially when the number is greater than 3. I don't know what the number is right off my hand, but I know it's like around the 60% mark. So this is a situation where the Cardinals are generally undervalued and Murray is undervalued. I think they do have enough on offense to keep it within a 4-point spread. This is a bet also that I didn't make or I didn't give out on the GoldSheet or on WagerTalk, but I took it myself. I didn't give it out because it wasn't widely available. I try to give out bets that are widely available. So while I do like the Cardinals plus the 4, that was a newsletter pick, I also like the under in this one because we know the Bears are going to want to run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. I don't think the Cardinals are going to have a ton of offensive success, but this Bears offense, like while it's had its moments here and there, feels it's had its moments here and there. I don't think that it's that good of a unit whatsoever. But I do think that this defense is good, and I think that Arizona should be able to game plan and stick it closer. But I'm with you here, newbie. That like the Bears, honestly, shout out to them for this little late season resurgence. I am not laying points with the Chicago Bears. I don't care who they're playing yet.
Yeah, and let's be real, man. If this was sitting at 3, it's a pass. You know what I mean? Because I think that's where you start getting into that push territory. But the fact that you're getting not only the half point, you're getting a full point over it with how wonky this year has been. It's something that just has to be on my card. If there's an ugly dog, I'm going to find a way to bet it. Cards could win the game outright. Like, let's be real. That wouldn't be all that shocking. Now, I'm not going to call for any money line sprinkles. I learned my lesson last week about that with the Arizona Cardinals, albeit a smaller spread here. But over a field goal, man, it's something with the way that I handicap the NFL. This has to be on my card, and that's why it was my top play to throw on here outside of our double best bet.
Yeah, and just like I don't see the Bears like laying this number like whatsoever. Think about the game in
Yeah, and
Pittsburgh a
like
couple weeks ago
yeah.
when the
Until
Cardinals.
I've seen them do it, it's hard for me to say they're going to do it. And the only time that I would maybe lay points with the Bears is if when I handicap the game, it arrives with a game script that tells me they can win by margin. I don't see it in this one. The Cards aren't just going to roll over. You saw it last week when they were dead in the water. They scored 13 points in the final frame. So I don't see a game script where the Chicago Bears get a margin that allows them to just coast to the end. And even if they do get it, how about when they had margin against the Detroit Lions and then they lose the game outright? Like, let's be real. Until they win by margin, I'm just not going to buy it.
Yeah, I'm not going to buy it either. Then there's also the divisional fluke. But like I was going to say, like this game just reminds me so much of when Arizona went to Pittsburgh not a couple weeks ago. Similar
Fair.
spread, and the Cardinals come and win outright. Yeah, there was those weather delays, a little bit of nonsense here and there, but no, I think that it's just a spot where if you're not prepared for a quarterback like a Kyler Murray, like even a Justin Fields for the Bears side,
Mhm.
it's or a Lamar Jackson that like frame, it's very very hard to defend that kind of speed and that kind of quickness in real time because you can't practice against it. Both these teams, I guess, have the benefit of being able to do that a little bit, but I think that that also means they're both going to be more well equipped to defend such of that. So in that case, again, I do agree with you in Arizona. If you can get a 44 on a total, I don't know if it's going to come back that high. That is what I played the under at. I got a 44. Again,
Mm.
it was a rogue number at one shop, so I couldn't give it out to sell or anything because it doesn't help me if people can't get down on it. But just putting it out there now, I have money on it. If you do see one pop up at one point, that's a play that I have made is the under 44 in this one. But let's finally talk about a fun and exciting game. We got this one more, and then of course a little bit of player prop action for you. But we have the Miami Dolphins hosting the Dallas Cowboys. If you listen to our Tuesday show, I mentioned how obviously everybody's talking about the Super Bowl preview on Monday night between the Ravens and the 49ers. And I sat here and said, this is a sneaky, also potential Super Bowl preview. Not sneaky in the sense where obviously these two teams are great, but sneaky in the sense where perception is not as high on these two teams now as they are on the Ravens and the 49ers. Newbie, do you have anything concrete here? We have Miami laying 1.5. We have the total sitting at 49.5. Some 50s, actually pretty mixed total. I see some 50s, some 49.5, some 50.5.
Yep.
So market not even sure how to price this one. A ton of injuries to monitor for mostly Miami, but also Zach Martin is a huge one for the Cowboys. Newbie, do you think the Cowboys are more like the team that went into Buffalo, got destroyed, when San Francisco got destroyed, or more like the team that when they actually do host teams beat up on them? Like, what team do you think is more the epitome of Dallas? And do you think they have a shot at, winning outright here in Miami?
Yeah, as far as anything more concrete in this game, I think I'm actually going to end up on the over. Like this game, really, I know it's square, but this just kind of seems like the which team gets to 33 points first kind of game here, because Dallas has the offense to hang with the Miami Dolphins. For what it's worth, they didn't really show that in last week's game, but it was also a horrible spot for the Dallas
Yeah.
Cowboys. They were coming off flying high, beating up against the division rival, seizing the 1 seed in their division, whereas Baltimore is still, or excuse me, Buffalo is still kind of fighting for their playoff life, so to speak. So for me, it was only a buy sign on Buffalo. For what it's worth, GoldSheet cashed a 5% play on the Buffalo
Mhm.
Bills with a rocking chair winner. So there was never a buy sign on the Dallas Cowboys last week. So I don't really know if I put much stock into them being exposed or anything like that. What I do know is when this team loses a game, especially in embarrassing embarrassing fashion, it's a buy sign for me the next week. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Going back to 2021, Mike McCarthy and this Dallas Cowboys team 12-1 against the number after a loss. Average margin of victory in those games, 17 points. I think they're winning by 17 against the Miami Dolphins on the road. Hell no, I don't. But I do think if you think it's a slam dunk spot here for the Miami Dolphins, just have a little bit of pause, because the Dallas Cowboys are at their best when they're coming off of a loss, a little bit of a bounce back potential. I think what tempers that a little bit is the caliber of opponent that they're going to be playing this week in the Dolphins. So if I was playing this game, it would be taking the Dallas Cowboys up in a teaser, asking them to keep it within a touchdown at 7.5 points. That's the only way I would bet it. If you forced me to pick a side, flipping a coin, I would lean Dallas getting the win outright, but I'm not putting that as a best bet or anything. But I do think getting them with 7.5 points, that makes a heck of a lot of sense for me if I can find something to pair it with.
Yeah. So I make this game Miami -1. The spread is Miami
Yep.
-1 PK, right? So like I am on the number here. So there are situations where obviously, like I just said, with the Broncos, like I don't make it a number, I make it short. So I take the Patriots because my numbers are basically telling me that and I like it. I don't have an edge in this game, but I think just from what I know about football, like I'm not manually changing my numbers. This isn't a bet I've made just yet because I want to make sure Tyreek Hill's 100% playing. I want to make sure Javon Holland, the great safety, is playing for Miami. I want to make sure they get at least 3 of their offensive linemen going because they had a practice this week where all 5 of their starting O-line, which isn't even good in the first place, were not participating in practice. So that is a concern. But assuming we get, again, some of these guys being healthy, I think that the Miami Dolphins are just a better football team. And this would be a game where, again, I wouldn't try to like sell this and be like, you must take 5% or anything like that. But it'd be like a
Mm-hmm.
nuts on the table game. Like I think the Miami Dolphins are better. So nuts on the table. I would take the Miami Dolphins because I think that I want to prove my ego correct in this one. And the reason why I think Miami is the better football team, more so, I think again, like we have a better head coach in Mike McDaniel over McCarthy. While I think McCarthy's been great this year, so I don't want to take anything away from him. I just think that from a schematic standpoint, like Dallas loves playing man defense. They played at one of the highest rates in the
Mm-hmm.
league. Miami's entire MO is destroying man coverage. Like if McCarthy and co decide to get, to try to play what Ron Rivera did when they played the Dolphins, say like, screw it, we know Tyreek Hill's great, but we're going to play him one-on-one. the one singular play you play Tyreek Hill one-on-one, that's a 100-yard touchdown for Tyreek Hill. Like, there's
Yep.
no margin for error when playing this Miami Dolphins offense. And this is a team, again, that's designed to destroy man coverage, which Dallas was a ton of. Also, as we saw in Buffalo, Dallas's run defense is horrible, and it's not because last
Yep.
week was an outlier. If you watch all season long, even the game when they beat the Panthers by a ton, when that game was close in the first half, Chuba Hubbard was
Mhm.
ripping off 5, 6, 7 yards per carry. It's been a season-long issue with the Dallas Cowboys run defense, and it's so understated because everyone thinks about Waddle and Hill. Miami can run the football on anybody when they're not getting pressured up front and they're not getting that interior pressure. But on the other hand, Dallas is one of the teams that can get that interior pressure that could kind of destroy exactly what Miami wants to do. Again, then you have the kind of square breakdown of Dallas being terrible when they're away, Miami being great at home.
Mhm.
I just, again, like newbie, I'm just kind of rambling at this point because I think it's such an interesting matchup. But if you're giving me gun to head, I love I want to say I love the Dolphins because I do. I think they're a better football team. I think they match up really well, and I think it's being understated how good this Dolphins team is. Because, like you asked me on Tuesday, is it Ravens in the AFC and that's it? Are the Bills going to come and make this amazing run? Are the Chiefs out
Mhm.
of it? Like, no mention the Dolphins. Like, they're so good, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I'm with you, man. I think that I have had major buy signs on them moving forward through the year, really picking my spots with them. It just, for me, yes, turnovers have a huge luck part of it. And I think, that flipped itself in Buffalo last week. But the numbers are the numbers. And this Dallas Cowboys team can put you into situations where you're turning the ball over. And we've seen Tua get bit by the turnover bug in some games in crucial
100%.
moments. So, if they are able to force some injury or some turnovers, that could be the ultimate difference maker in this game. It's just because that's an unhandicappable item of a game. That's why it keeps me off this game. Although, let's be real, like for these public books, like a DraftKings, like a FanDuel, like a MGM, who really cater to public players and start limiting the sharp ones. Once public money starts coming in, Dallas Cowboys are always a public money team. So on those types
Mhm.
of books, you're still getting ones, you're still getting 1.5s. I don't think we're going to see this line completely flip to where you're laying 1 or 1.5 with Dallas, but it is going to go down to pick them. So if you want to tease them up now. If there is enough money and there is enough, maybe even potential sharp support on Dallas to flip this line, you could potentially be sitting with 2 teaser legs where you can get up Miami to a 7 or to a 7.5. Obviously, you need to get to that 7.5 to make it an advantage teaser, but that advantage teaser falls by the wayside for me when you're looking at a total of 50. So if you want to potentially have a really good teaser bet on either side, if enough money pushes towards Dallas, which we have seen a lot of Dallas support that push the line down to pick them, you could end up with a 7.5 either way. You may have to do a 6.5 point teaser, but as it stands right now, we both talked a lot about this game, EP. I don't think either and I are betting the number as it currently stands right here. I think we get an over game, and I think it could be a really nice teaser leg for you.
Yeah, we can move on. Like, if this does end up being part of the package I to give you out here, I'm not flip flopping. It's Miami or bust for me, but it would
Yep.
be probably just a 1% play, just to again, like I said, honestly, be like a flex because just say like I know
Yeah.
that this team's better.
I told you
My numbers
so.
say they're literally it would be an I told you so bet. My numbers say they're equal, but I just have a feeling that Miami is the better team. But newbie, let's talk another game where we actually see an edge for your numbers, or my numbers personally see an edge here. Um, Jacksonville headed to Tampa Bay. Right now, the wheels are falling off the bus for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield look like an absolute wagon. We've both made cases for Tampa Bay to make the playoffs in the NFC because, for a number of reasons, we think they're better than their division mates, and Baker Mayfield's a fun player. Right now, though, the Jaguars, this line is sitting at Buccaneers laying 1 at home, total of 43. But the big question is if Trevor Lawrence is going to be good to go. Jacksonville again going through some trials and tribulations. Tampa Bay coming off their most dominant performance of this season in a must-win game. So obviously there's some good kudos and credit there. But newbie, do you think that this number now is kind of overreacted to Jacksonville, or as we've kind of mentioned, is Tampa Bay like still somehow a little bit underrated this season?
Yeah, I've loved making money on Tampa Bay this year. You have to pick your spots doing it. I think the thing that keeps me off of this, and why I'll throw it right back your way to get your thoughts, because you definitely have the stronger opinion. I would lean towards Jacksonville because, Tampa Bay, do they have enough to push them over the finish line? The thing is it's like they need one win throughout the end of the year to potentially be winning their division. So especially with what happens with the Saints tonight, that could decide how I end up betting this game. But with Trevor Lawrence, the question mark, sure, he had a question mark. We didn't think he was going to play, and it was going to be Beathard. He ends up playing. It didn't really end up making a difference in that game. But I can't bet this without knowing the health of the quarterback. I would lean Jacksonville at the short, modest price. But every time I feel like the wild card of Baker Mayfield can burn you, he does burn you. So with questions around the quarterback, it's just a pass for me. I know you have a little bit stronger of an opinion, though.
Yeah, with Lawrence, again, this number for us is one minus 1.5 for Jacksonville. So if you're giving us, slight plus money, or again, even if you get a 1.5 and have Jacksonville as a teaser leg, that would be a great option for us as well. But definitely looking toward Jacksonville money line here, but need that concrete information about Trevor. Um, I'm not taking anything away from Baker and the Bucks. Like you and I have again touted them. The Buccaneers are very good against the spread this year. They're a team that if you backed properly, um, they've made money. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, like I'm not a huge home and road splits guy when it comes to like statistics. Like obviously you have like the anomalies like the Cowboys, Dolphins for home, but the Jacksonville Jaguars have been road warriors this season. Like if you want to talk just straight up and against the number for the Jaguars, 3-5 at home, 5-1 on the road, and that also includes 2 games where they were over in London. So this team has been like a road warrior team, and I wasn't that shocked to see them like kind of falter in the last couple of games they've had at home because season wide, like Jacksonville, they haven't had a home field advantage whatsoever there. The Buccaneers, I just think that while I'm again like what I've seen from Mayfield, I think that they've had a lot of success running the football lately. I don't think they'll have that similar success with Jacksonville. And outside of the game against the Packers, Baker Mayfield has played kind of poorly in the recent weeks before that game, except for those final game-winning drives that he had against the Atlanta Falcons. Like outside of that game, if you look at the numbers and go back to the box score, Mayfield has pedestrian all game long and finally decided to wake up on that final drive. So I also give the Jacksonville Jaguars the coaching edge. I have Dougie P, a much better head coach than Todd Bowles. I don't think that the Buccaneers will be able to run the football at all. Their run offense is bad. Jacksonville's is good. If you get Tyson Campbell back for the Jags, I think that really helps their case for slowing down this Tampa Bay passing attack that can be good. So yeah, Jacksonville is something that we give it on the gold sheet. Not sure if it's going to make it to the LTS picks, but I have to go with my numbers with a better team, better coach. The stakes are the same, but the Buccaneers do not have a home field advantage for me. And then the Jaguars actually have a road advantage from this season. Like they are just road warriors. Shout out to Peterson for getting them up and ready to go whenever this team has to go on the road.
Yeah, I think it makes a heck of a lot of sense for me. And like I said, once I get the news that it will be Trevor Lawrence going, it makes it could end up making my card. But honestly, this week, as I said, like I have that Arizona play, I have our double best bet. Coming off of a week where I was 0-2, I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel. I'm not looking to say, hey, I got to spray the board, get back what I lost last week. It's just a good spot where, if the board doesn't make sense to you, even if you're coming off a losing week and you want to get some coin back, be selective, be choosy. Could Jacksonville make my card? Sure. But after losing a little bit of bankroll last week, I'm not just going to fire on something that's a lean for me. Well, it does make a heck of a lot of sense. I hate not having more plays to give out for the folks, but sometimes the board it is what it is. But we do at least have some props for him, and I like my prop quite a bit.
Yeah, we have some props. And just a reminder again, wagertalk.com, gold sheet handicap profile. Make sure to get the all access for this weekend because you will have some other plays we have loaded that I give out. It was a $2 customer appreciation. Shout out to everybody who got that play. That obviously did not give that out here. A couple other plays loaded, and there will be some others that I'm looking at still, but need some injury confirmation for. So for all that confirmation, head on over to wagertalk.com. But let's talk props, newbie. Darren Waller against your Birds for the Giants. Tell me how you're betting him.
Like you said on Twitter, when I talk birds, you best listen because 9 times
Yes,
out of
sir.
10, I'm making a case of why you should fade them. I know their weaknesses probably more than they know themselves because it seems like they don't want to correct any of their weaknesses. They just want to switch who's calling plays, keep the same exact defense, have the same exact result. But that makes no difference for what we're playing here. The play is Darren Waller going over 3.5 receptions. And this one makes a heck of a lot of sense to me, man. The Eagles are up to 12-point favorites. So the odds makers and market agree. They expected the Giants to be playing from behind all game long in this script. And if the Giants do, in fact, end up in a passing game script, there's going to be a plenty of targets to go around. DeVito last week in a game they were trailing since basically the get-go had 34 passing attempts in New Orleans. 6 of those targets went to Waller. That was second best on the team. So finding chemistry with your tight end early for Mr. Cutlets there. And the great way to attack the Eagles is via the tight end position. They've allowed 4 or more receptions to tight ends in 11 of their games this year. So if you want to be able to move the ball, find your tight end open in the flat against those linebackers that should probably be playing in the CFL, not the NFL. This number, I really like it at 3.5. That was the exact number that I was looking to get to bet over this one. Darren Waller, he's catching 4 on Christmas Day. That's the bet for me, EP.
Yep, I don't. You didn't even need to explain. Once you slacked me that message, I was like, "Lock." I know how bad the Eagles are over the middle of the field. I know how the tight ends feast against them. I know how these backup quarterbacks love their TEs as safety blankets. I know Waller catches the ball short, middle of the field, and middle of the field. So that is a bet that I will be making as well. But newbie, it hasn't been officially announced, but I'm expecting that we're going to see Trevor Lawrence news ASAP because the Buccaneers
Great.
just got steamed to -2 right across the board at several sharp shops. And that total has come down at sharp shops to 41, 41 and a half. So expect some news. If you're obviously watching this post of the fact, you probably saw
Yep.
the news, but Newbie and I, using the WagerTalk Live odds screen, are anticipating that news coming. And yes, that obviously changes the play, but I guess better to catch it live than for us than after the fact as it happens to us a couple times. But
Yeah, it
I
gives
would
me a chance to go and get a bet in while you break down your prop. And you did. I just want to correct. You said Bucks going to -2. Obviously, misspeaking there. It was just the Jags going to -2. I didn't want the comments to destroy us. EP. I got your back, brother.
no, the Bucks are going. I went to -2. I'm thinking Lawrence might be out. I'm
Oh,
looking
you're
at Tampa
saying that
Bay
he's
-2.
out.
That would be the otherwise. Why would it go to
Oh,
2? I'm
yeah.
expecting
I
it.
misunderstood what you were saying there. Wow.
Yeah, so not saying that's what's happening clearly, but I watched the screen light up in front of me and go from Tampa Bay -1 to -2 across the board. So it could be a release just fading the Jaguars. It could be news is on the horizon because the total also moved. You guys will know by the time you see this, but Newbie and I are figuring out in
Yep.
real time. So digression aside, player prop for me, Najee Harris, 49.5 rush yards. The Cincinnati Bengals defense is not being credited for how bad it is. I know we saw Ty Chandler run for 130 yards on them. Who the hell is Ty Chandler? Exactly. When the Pittsburgh Steelers played the Bengals in the first game after they fired Matt Canada, the Steelers put up 400 plus yards. Yes, that was with Kenny Pickett at quarterback, but it doesn't matter who's at quarterback when you're running the football. And while it's pretty like you can't even make the argument, Jalen Warren looks like the more spry running back. Najee Harris still out carries him game after game after game. And then the last time they played Cincinnati, he had 99 rush yards. So I think that getting just 49 and a half, to have half of those rush yards is definitely a discount for Najee in this one. So I'm just going to keep it plain and simple. Terrible rush defense, rush an offense with a backup quarterback that wants to run the football. And most importantly, DJ Reader, defensive tackle for the Bengals, out for the year. I don't have the numbers exactly in front of me, but when Reader is off the field for the Bengals, the success rate of opposing offenses on the ground like goes from like X% to like a much higher number. Teams find success without big DJ Reader in the middle. So that is the prop parlay for the week. Newbie, any final thoughts before we do a little bit of a recap?
Nope, that's it for me. Hope people have a terrific holiday, whatever they are celebrating, and hopefully, with all this football landing on the holidays, you get yourself some nice Christmas presents with some extra coin in your pocket, man. So just hope everybody has a safe and happy one.
Definitely just have a safe and happy holiday. Couldn't have said it better myself. Recap of the plays: New England plus 6.5, double best bet. See if you can find a 7. Arizona plus 4, locked in for newbie. I say if you find under 44, that's a good one. I'll put the nuts on the table. Miami money line, or you can lay the 1.5. Honestly, whatever the best price you can get there. Jacksonville, I'm honestly going to take it off now because we don't know what's happening as we got steamed live
Yep.
on air. So we'll just call that a lean. And then Darren Waller over 3.5 receptions. Najee Harris over 49.5 rush yards, and parlay the two for a little bit of plus money. So again, have a great, happy, healthy, safe holiday. Enjoy the time with family and friends, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday.